Right. Hello, hello. It is Wednesday. Welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where we are exploring topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life, your business, your health, wealth, finances, and relationships. And today I'm talking about freedom. And freedom is something so many people talk about. But I'm going to talk about 5 tips that you want to be aware of in order to avoid what we call the freedom trap. So, if you've ever found yourself saying, I want freedom, I want to do what I want, where I want, with whom I want, and have the money to do it, this is for you because there is a whole lot more to freedom than that. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larissa McCooch, author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, Discover the Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom. So I have thought a lot about this. I've thought about a lot about the freedom thing. And I'm also a master results coach and CEO of Abundance Academy, where we help professional women whose external results tell the world they're successful, but on the inside, they know they're destined for more. I help them stop holding themselves back, go after their dreams, and radically expand their lives, their incomes, and their businesses so that they can create magic each and every day. So I would love to know where you are coming in from. If you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if this is your first time, type in first time in the chat. So I thank you for being here. And I truly do appreciate your presence. So many years ago, back in World War II, Viktor Frankl, he was an Austrian psychiatrist and a Holocaust survivor. And he had a very devastating time. It was a very devastating time for many people. But 9 months after being married, Viktor Frankl and his family were sent to a concentration camp where his father, he actually died of starvation and pneumonia. So his mother and brother, they were murdered in gas chambers, and his wife died of typhus. He spent 3 years in 4 concentration camps, and he basically had everything, including his life's work, taken from him. So this is really, if you had been in that same situation, it would have been absolutely devastating for you. And most people around him, they did get to that point and they just gave up. They looked around, they let that be their reality, and ultimately they paid the price. However, Viktor Frankl, he knew a few things about the mind. And for him, while it wasn't always easy, he survived. Why? Because he realized that there was something really powerful. Despite the fact that he was in this situation, there was something that he could still do. Now, he is quoted for being the man that says everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And it really is true. Now, I never thought much about the concept of freedom growing up. After high school, in university, I started going to seminars where people talked about concepts I had never even heard of before. Freedom didn't even seem like anything. I saw the commercials, Freedom 55, where people were leaping on the streets and dancing around. However, they talked about things like doing business and real estate deals, having businesses, creating products, being innovative and helping society. There was talk about why writing a book was a powerful thing. And even people were becoming New York Times best-selling authors, speaking on large stages and inspiring and motivating people. And these concepts seemed so foreign to me, yet they whet my appetite and got me really curious about the possibility of what could be. And honestly, the more I studied, the more I went to seminars, the more I met people, the more and more curious I became. And I stayed in this world a really long time. And it was like going to a school that I never knew existed. Yet I was on the chase always searching, searching, and searching, and searching for this freedom for years. Now, I remember the very first time I felt truly free. I was in Fiji. I didn't have many expectations. This was part of my journey where we were on 40 trips in 4 years. And my husband and I, we just completed the Life and Wealth Mastery seminars, which was amazing. It was like a 10-day summer camp for high achievers from all around the world. Now, it was a beautiful and intimate experience. We decided to stay a few extra days at the Namali Resort, which is Tony Robbins' private resort out there. And we were walking into the Bula House. This was our home for a few days. And for the very first time ever, my husband heard me squeal. He's like, I have never seen you do that. You were so incredibly excited. You were squealing like a squirrel girl. You're like, ah! And I just felt this wave of true excitement, true possibility, and something passed through me like it never, ever had before. It rocked my world and changed my entire paradigm, literally opening the door and taking a few steps into this beautiful, beautiful home. So why am I sharing this with you? Because freedom is possible, but most people, they have it backwards and they don't really understand what it is. And if you ask yourself, do you long for freedom in your life? Do you want to have that life where you can be anything, do anything, go anywhere with anyone that you want? Would you like to stop beating yourself up for the mistakes that you've made? And maybe instead of being hard on yourself, you say, oh my gosh, this is the life I've always wanted. I am totally here. I have a life of freedom. When people ask you if you want freedom, you're like, I've already got it. Thanks. Can you imagine that these dreams that you've been chasing for years actually do turn into reality? Well, this is what today is all about. We're going to look at freedom and what you need to do. I'm going to show you 5 things you need to do and 5 tips that you're going to want to take on in order to avoid what I call the freedom trap. Now, freedom in and of itself is the state of independence where you can do what you want without any restrictions by anyone. Ultimately, it's a state of mind where you have the ability to express yourself and make choices. When it comes to the freedom trap, I want you to just picture this. You want freedom more than anything. You daydream about that day where you get to do what you want, be where you want, have the money to enjoy and buy anything you choose. Yet, at the end of the day, you find yourself living the same old days over and over and over again. You're just on this wheel, going around and around. Freedom seems like a pipe dream and it's unattainable and this fanciful, wishful thing. So at the end of the day, what do? You go beat yourself up for not having it. You're jealous of those that do have the apparent freedom you desire. I mean, it's all over their Instagram account, right? You play it out the next day, hoping life is going to be different. And maybe you'll win the lottery, or maybe you're going to just stay trapped in your daily grind, occasionally throwing pity parties along the way. That's what the freedom trap is. Doesn't feel good. And the cool thing is you can get out of it. You don't have to stay there. Let me know if you've ever been in this freedom trap in your own variation, right? One variation or another. And it's if you've been there, no need to be ashamed. We've all been there. However, if you stay there, if you stay on that train, you're not going to have a rich and fulfilling life that leaves you satisfied. I've talked to so many people over the years, and I've met one person I could say has that type of definition of freedom in her life. And she's actually thriving, right? She travels the world. She actually has no home other than the current Airbnb she stays in. She's been around the globe for the past 6 years. She's been living just in various different countries. She operates a remote business that she loves. She earns great money, And she's fulfilled because she has built her life her way. Now, most people think that sounds great, but if they actually put themselves in her shoes, that would be miserable for them, because there's a lot of people that live on the road. They don't get to be home with their families. There's a lot of people that want to have that comfort of a place to come back to. And so there are so many considerations when it comes to freedom. And I want to just have you think about them so that you don't get caught in any of these freedom traps, and you can truly build a life that makes sense for you and that feels free, not someday, but now. Now, first and foremost, you want to look at what freedom actually is. What types of freedoms are there? There are many different kinds of freedom. At its core, freedom is energy, and energy is expressed differently. So there are a lot of people want time freedom, right? Time is one of the non-renewable resources, and you get to choose how you spend it. Does someone else dictate how you spend your time, or do you get to? There's vocational freedom, where you actually get to choose what you choose to do for a living and how you serve people. There's financial freedom, where you actually have the money, the tangible funds for the desires you have, and you can make choices so much easier than other people. There's health freedom, where you have the physical ability and vibrance and well-being to fulfill your desires. There's spiritual freedom, right? Your connection with higher spirit and a higher calling, where you are not just led by your brain and your mind. You are literally led by someone or something higher and bigger than you. So you're living your life on purpose and going after your actual dreams. Your physical environment and material possessions, maybe your home, your travel, how you travel, right? Do you travel in a joyful way? Do you travel in a luxurious way? Do you backpack? Right? What is freedom for you? Are you location independent? So these are various types of freedoms. And I think when you really look at what freedom is in general, these are ways freedom is expressed. And when you start looking at how freedom is expressed in your life, you can say, okay, I've got a benchmark. I've got these types of freedoms. Maybe you hadn't actually thought of the freedoms that you do have, and you're ignoring all the things that you do have. Now is the time to acknowledge what freedoms do you have, and of these different forms of freedom, what additional forms of freedom do you choose? Because here's the thing, if you focus on what you don't want, what are you going to get? What you don't want. And when you acknowledge what you do want and ask for more, without those icky feelings, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get more, because you're not attached to it. There's a detachment. So second thing, to avoid the freedom trap, reveal your true desires. You've got to get really clear and specific. Honestly, when people say, I want to do what I want, where I want, it's like, I roll, because most people have no idea what freedom actually is. And I want to be really clear about that. If you can't say, if I ask you, what does that mean to you? And you can't give me a clear picture, it's never going to happen. You need to know, what specifically do you want to do? Are you going to write? Are you going to speak? Are you going to just spend your days watching TV and soap operas? Are you going to go in the garden? Are you going to volunteer? Are you going to have a business? What specifically do you like? Where do you want to do these things? Are you going to do it at home, on the beach, in a villa, in an office? What country? What city? Can you actually picture yourself being there? Who do you want to spend time with? What value would you offer them to be the kind of person that person would want to spend time with too? Right? When you're spending time with people that are freedom-minded people, what kind of person are you, and how can you ensure that they're going to want to spend time with you too? How much money do you desire? Right? Money can't come to you unless it's got a specific role to play. It is energy. You can't just sit there. Money goes where it's invited. Now, it's really important to focus on what actually matters to you. And when you know what matters to you, and you've given yourself some time to think it through, you know what happens? you start to get it. So give yourself permission to really dissect what freedom is for you. And I'm meaning way beyond just a canned response. You can say that to some people. However, if they ask for specifics, you want to know exactly what that means. I hope that's clear. I'm very, very, very passionate about that. Okay. Third thing that you're going to want to do is to get something called freedom, you're going to need to give something up. Okay. So often people just want to add more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And when you add, you know what happens? The cup flows over, but not in a very good way. The closet gets too full. The life gets too full. You stop being connected to these things that you claim you desire, and you just start going through the motions of life. So there's only 24 hours a day, and there's only so much space in your life and so much energy and capacity you've got. So if you want what you claim to have as freedom, what you're going to have to do is practice something called the law of sacrifice. And this is letting something go of a lower nature for a higher nature. Right? This is a responsibility you have. With freedom comes responsibility. And so you may need to, if you want to work remotely, you may need to be willing to give up an office space to go to. You may have to be willing to work at home. If you want to spend time with certain types of people, you may need to spend less time with other types of people. You may need to give up some friendships or some relationships because they're actually not helping you move forward and they're not the best influence for you at this time. You may have to give up some comforts, some ways of eating, so you can actually have more energy to do the things that you choose to do. You may have to give up some of your current habits. You may have to give up some excuses, probably a lot of excuses. And that's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow. When you have to give up excuses, that's when the rubber meets the road. So to have your freedom, you've got to give something up and make sure you're giving things up of a lower nature so you can invite things of a higher nature in. Fourth, you want to create mental freedom. And you've got to create mental freedom first before you will actually have physical freedom. Now, physical freedom in your outer world stems from having freedom in your mind first, because everything is created twice. First in your mind, then in physical form. And it's never going to happen physically and be long lasting if it comes from without. It's actually got to come from within. So to be in this energetic alignment with freedom, it's all about feeling. Do you feel good more of the time? Do you feel good with the things that you do have? And do you still feel good when you don't have those things? If you don't feel good while you are in the absence of certain freedoms you desire, they're never going to come to you because you're not energetically aligned with them. Right? When Viktor Frankl said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way, he did that in a concentration camp. If you don't have what you want, you don't need to throw a hissy fit. What you can do is take a breath and go within. Acknowledge the blessings that you do have in your life and keep inviting more in. And know that they're coming. Align yourself to be the person that your dreams require. It's not about feeling bad that you don't have it, because if you do, never going to come. So you've got to be a master of your own thinking and create that mental freedom first. You've got to really acknowledge those freedoms that are within. Fifth, create freedom now and build the freedom muscle day by day, bit by bit. So again, most people want to have that freedom 55 where they have freedom someday. They hope to amass enough wealth and life where they can just spend their days doing what they want to do. However, what I've learned is someday never comes. So hoping tomorrow will be better and having a crappy right now is not a good strategy. To truly experience freedom in your life, you've got to face the reality and responsibility required to attain it. Don't lose yourself in the hustle of life. we actually become prisoners of our own habits and of our own comfort zones. And so let's just say if you have a certain freedom that you desire, look at how you can express that freedom right now, today, even in a teeny tiny little way. Build the habit of freedom now. Start living your dream life now. Start taking responsibility and plan and commit to having the life you desire now. Don't take a shotgun approach. And that's going to take some time, some effort, some prioritization. And when you do that, you feel successful over time. You're not going to feel successful on day one necessarily. You may not feel successful on day 2 or 3 or 10. However, over time, you're going to look back and say, wow, these teeny tiny little actions I took actually started to pay off. And look at this. When I started an aerial silks class, this is where you have a big piece of fabric that hangs from the ceiling and you climb up and you do all these circus tricks. I've always been very kinesthetically inclined, and movement's been easy for me. I've been a dancer, so it came pretty naturally. I'd never had to do a chin up in my life before. And I remember my first class, I couldn't even like jump up and hold myself for half a second. I would jump up and I had no grip strength. And it was so incredibly humbling because I didn't have the muscle. I didn't have the muscle. And that was probably in November when I started. It's April now. So it's been nearly 6 months. And I kept going back week by week. Okay, committed to one class a week. And I got a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. I didn't go out of my way to go crazy and be a weekend warrior. I'm sure I could have expedited the process. I wanted this to be just a simple thing I do once a week. And so I kept going back. I kept doing little exercises for my fingers. I would squeeze balls. I would work my upper body. And finally, last week, I climbed up to the top. And it was easy. And it was fun. And it was fulfilling. And I felt so incredibly powerful. However, the freedom I felt in being able to do that, the exhilaration I felt would have never happened had I not been willing to take it one day at a time. And now I look at my physical strength and I feel so much stronger. I can do push-ups. I never did push-ups. I can do push-ups now. And I have little arm muscles. My son says they're squishy, but he's 6. He finds the squishiest part of squid and says, Mama, your arms are squishy. I'm like, they've got muscle, right? But I can do it. And there's a sense of satisfaction involved. And so you've got to start building that freedom muscle day by day, bit by bit. And over time, it will turn into something incredibly, incredibly strong. So let me just recap this for you. Covered a lot here today. So first and foremost, you want to look at what freedom is. Okay, to avoid the freedom trap, you actually know what kinds of freedoms are there in your life. What is freedom in general, globally speaking? You want to look at what freedom means to you. So reveal your desires. Get really clear and specific. Number 3, you need to give something up. What are you willing to give up in order to attain this? Okay. And be willing to feel okay with it, right? Knowing this is a good thing. 4, create that mental freedom first. Allow your mindset to lead you forward and to pave the path for what you desire. And step 5, create freedom now. Build that freedom muscle each and every day, bit by bit. You can put more into it. You could put less into it. However, the point is start living your dream life now. Don't wait for someday, because someday will never come. You want to start feeling and living that satisfaction today. And it's a simple thing I said. It's not always easy. The key is to actually do something about it. So I would love to know what you're going to do to take these concepts and run with them. And this Stop Procrastinating book is launching very, very soon. We are having our launch party, our book launch party next week. And so if you want to have first access to this book before everybody else does, I want you to type in book in the chat. And I will make sure that my team gets a link available to you. And if you're watching this after the book is released, then we will make sure to put the link for how you can access this book in the chat. So both digital and physical copies. So I hope you enjoy the book, the Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, and discover your secrets to more time, more money, and more freedom. So if you want the access, type the book in the chat. Now, when I was in that Bula house in Fiji, and I was just so excited, I remember standing there and just feeling like I was floating. I had no agenda. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to do for several days. It was the first time I literally had nothing on my plate, and I could completely choose how I was spending my time and what I would do with it. The facility, the building was beautiful. We had 2 showers, an indoor shower, an outdoor shower, a beautiful bed with our names that were printed in flower petals on the bed. It was gorgeous. We had a pool table. We had this gorgeous living room that overlooked the ocean. We had a private pool. We had a private beach. This was something I had never, ever seen before in my life. And it was just so, so, so exciting for me. I'd never even considered I could do something like this before. And there I was. And when I was in seminars and I was constantly searching for years, what I realized is as soon as I started going within and really owning my own truth and learning what I wanted, I started having the freedoms I desired, right? That day in the Bula house, it fueled that freedom for me. And it started to pave the path and help me realize that it wasn't something outside of me I was chasing. It was the feeling inside that I desire. And that curiosity led to massive excitement and true freedom for me. And Viktor Frankl, right, despite his devastating time in the concentration camps, he survived. And he created a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He created a business, a school of psychotherapy that describes a search for life's meaning as a central human motivational force. And he has inspired millions and millions of people around the globe. Yes, part of his story was devastating. However, it led to pave the path for freedom, for excitement, for the zest that other people have in life, for others out there that were going through something similar and perhaps even worse. He is an authority and a respected authority in his field, and he lived a long and fulfilling life after that. And I know that you can be, do, or have anything your heart desires. I promise you, anything your heart desires. So if you do want an access to stop procrastinating your life away so you can start taking action now and have anything and everything your heart is calling for, drop book in the chat and we will get that info to you. All right. We are signing off for today. I will be back again next week, the day before our book launch party here in Toronto. And if you are interested in having any additional topics, we are collecting topics that our audience wants to hear. So if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, please let us know. You can put them in the chat or you can reach out to Jessica at Team Abundance or any of the links in our bios. We would love to know what we can serve you with here at the Abundance Academy.